Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. Just doing a little fueling here in Meridian, Mississippi. Just here at the pilot on our way down to Texas. Just want to give you a little update on our progress. So we're here in Meridian, and Meridian's an interesting place. I come through here periodically. Meridian's home to a naval air station, and they also call themselves a Queen City. I've talked about that in the past. But there's a sign here for a town that's north of here that always gives me, always gives me chills when I see it. And it's a sign for Philadelphia, Mississippi. And that name may not ring a bell, but maybe the movie Mississippi Burning does. So Mississippi Burning is sort of based on some events that happened in Philadelphia, Mississippi in June of 1964. There were three young men, one black guy his last name was Cheney, and he was from here in Meridian, and then two other white guys by the name of Goodwin and Schwerber. They were from New York City, and they were down here doing voter registration during what they called the Freedom Summer. And these guys were basically arrested under false pretenses in Mississippi. Then they were let go a few hours later. Then they were pulled over again while they were leaving town and murdered. And their bodies were buried in like this earthen dam that I think was being built. But the FBI couldn't, they first was a missing persons case, and the FBI and some state and local law enforcement, even though local law enforcement was involved, they're searching the area. They got 400 sailors from the Naval Air Station at Meridian to help out with the search, but to no avail. Now, if you go on the Wikipedia page for these murders, it says the FBI eventually found their bodies about 2 months later based on a tip. But what you may not know is what actually happened was there was a guy that was an enforcer in the Colombo crime family. So he was in the mafia. He was from New York City, obviously. But what had happened is early in his career in the mob, after he was a made man, he got into a little bit of trouble. Nothing too serious, but for whatever reason, he decided to flip and become an informant. And this guy's name was Gregory Scarpa. And Scarpa was a bad man. He didn't have any problem killing people, beating people. He was like I said, he was a mob enforcer. He had his own crew in the Colombo crime family. So the FBI, desperate to get some resolution on this case and to protect these civil rights workers and people that were trying to do this stuff, they go to Scarpa and they said, hey, why don't you go down to Mississippi and see what you can find out? So they give him some information that they had. Well, what happens is Scarpa comes down here, and apparently one of the people that they thought that was involved or would have information was a guy that owned a TV and appliance store. So Scarpa, goes in there. He's got like a car that he's driving, a rental car or whatever. Scarpa goes in there and buys a TV. And then he asks the guy if the guy can help him carry it out to the car. Well, when the guy is helping Scarpa put it in the car, Scarpa pistol whips him and basically beats the crap out of him and stuffs him in the trunk. And then Scarpa takes him out in the woods and basically says, if you don't tell me where these bodies are buried, I'm going to bury you out here. And so the guy gives up the goods, and Scarpa finds out basically where these bodies are buried, and he gives that information to the FBI. And like I said, a couple months later, the FBI are able to find their bodies. Now, ultimately, there are a number of people convicted in this case, including one that was like about 40 years later. So, you know, and it was a big deal then. I mean, I think it's still a big deal now, but the kind of the story how the mafia hitman helped out is kind of an interesting part of it. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. Everybody stay safe. Oh, yeah, I wanted to talk to you briefly about a recall that's going on with Freightliners, but I don't have the information right in front of me. I did ask RA about it, but when I get back to you tomorrow or the next time, we'll talk about this this recall that involves a steering system on 2019 to 2021 Cascadias. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate everybody. Stay safe out there, and by the time I get back to you, it'll probably be over in the Lone Star State. So see you then. Bye.